Still on vacation, baby. Anyway, some of you guys wanted to talk about the 21 Bronco and the engine failures that are happening. So I figured I'd spend some time looking into it. A little under the weather right now, the transfer going from the Dominican Republic back here to the United States, and then the last excursion, we're out in the sun for 10 hours, and then going back to a resort room that was 64 degrees. Absolutely killed me. Instantly brought on, like, just within a few hours, of a light stuffy nose and kind of a little bit of a sore throat. So I knew right away. It'd be a few days before I even feel back to myself. Luckily, I have a bunch of time before I go back to work. 21 Bronco engine failure. You guys have been asking me for months, but it wasn't really apparent that it was as big as a problem until recently. And now the news picked it up. They did an article on it. They spoke about how Ford is trying to get to the bottom of it, and it seems to be around the April time frame of 21 where the 2.7 liter EcoBoost was actually becoming a problem. And there's a few, as I searched around and I went to forums and Motor Trend, Car and Driver, and everything else, it was the same basic information over and over and over again. Anecdotal, but true anecdotal information. And about 50 cases, people are saying it's roughly about 50 to 55 cases where they've had Broncos all about the same time frame, and even some of the F-150 guys in their forums have said, but not really the F-150 guys. When I was going through their forums and stuff, there wasn't a ton of it like on the Bronco forum. So it had to be a bad batch of valves, because why would it act that way with one and not the other? So that's the first thing. And then I got to reading through the comments and everything else, and I want to address that. There have been situations in history where you haven't known about things that have happened, or it was never a big thing. Toyota, if you follow me on TikTok, Ford Boss, you'll see the story that I've been covering, as well as other people, with Toyota from 2001 to 2010, 2011. Toyota had thousands of cases where the accelerator pedals would stick and people literally died. But that's not something that's talked about. Look up Mark Saylor, August 28th, 2009. State police officer in his vehicle, had like 17 seconds until the road ended. Called up 911. Pedal was stuck, freaked out, didn't shut the vehicle off, didn't throw it in neutral, lost all braking control because it's power assist. Once you hit a power assisted brake while at high RPM or accelerating, your boost assist is not there, because boost vacuum is created best during idle and cruising. So if you're accelerating and you're romping on it, or the pedal's stuck and he's going over 100 miles an hour, you don't have as much vacuum assist there. It's just not creating enough vacuum to assist you properly. So what ends up happening is you use that first initial push of vacuum that's stored in the brake booster, and then it's gone. Then you really got to stand on that thing. You got to grab the steering wheel and almost use it as a platform to stand on. And if you're a small person, you got somebody else, you better get more than one person helping you. But we didn't hear a lot about that stuff. That was $3 billion in pay that Toyota had to pay out. It was his Lexus ES 350, and he ran it off the road. He didn't see any other way out of it. And I can't answer for why he didn't do it. But that's the reason I bring that up, is things like this in small batches have happened. Look at 2016. I did 3 sets of cylinder heads, one passenger side, one driver side, and then both on 2016 F-150s, 2.7 liter EcoBoost. It was a small batch of them that had faulty valve seals, and it wasn't every single head that got put in the vehicles. It was just a handful of them, and then all of a sudden it went away. Customers got their cylinder heads replaced and stuff like that and got swept under the rug. You never heard about it again. TSB is still active today for that condition, but nobody hears about that. Same thing with these valves. What's probably going to end up happening is they're going to find out through a case study or something like that that it's a small number of 2.7 liter EcoBoost Broncos that ended up having some kind of manufacturing little issue or something like that, where they made inferior valves, and they're letting loose at low miles, and they're going to have to rectify that by replacing the engine. I've seen guys with coolants filling their cylinders, the valves destroying the pistons and everything else, metal and stuff getting in the turbos. I mean, everything. It's LTIS, low time in service, long block, turbos, everything, fluids, it all gets replaced. The problem is, are we going to have the availability? Are all the dealerships going to have vehicles to put the customers in? And I speak about this as if there's a lot of these cases that are going to happen, but probably not. And a lot of people did complain and say, hey, well, when I went to the dealership, they didn't even have a vehicle for me. They didn't have anything for me to drive when I got there. That happens sometimes. Sometimes, you know, you got a dozen loaners and those are loaned out. You're going to have to go get a rental and then go through the reimbursement process that Ford has to get your money back for your rental. Some dealerships play stupid like they don't know anything about it. Other ones are on their game and they know exactly how to help the customer. Some dealerships will go to the extent of they're so large and they have so many used vehicles and new vehicles, they may put the customer in a new like Bronco demo or F-150 demo for, you know, a month until they get an engine put in. And I did say a month. Take that loosely. Could be more. Not a hard job, but you know, it is what it is. And now with them coming out with the Bronco Raptor 3-liter twin turbo, people are going to be skeptical about that. So we wait. Let's address some comments real quick while we're here and things that people have said. Let's just brush over it. I'll give my commentary and we can move on. If you are a subscriber here and this is you, or you're a subscriber from another page and this is you and you see this video, I don't mean to attack you. I only mean to address the message. Outside of that, nobody knows who you are, so you don't need to address yourself or identify yourself or cause any more stress than what's already there. I simply want to just take apart your comments and give commentary on them and leave it alone. No drama. Save it for your mama. Let's go. So somebody had pulled this from a Ford database website. As Ford releases, you know, letters and stuff and updates and things that they're making, and you could see here, nano valve supplier issue was resolved with more robust design and material changes at the supplier. And this is from a Ford update article to the consumer. I don't remember where it was from. Just Google search it. You'll be able to find it, or Google image search it. This guy here says there's a second problem with the 2.7 liter EcoBoost. It's not as common, but still there. I had to have the entire engine pulled and all four cam phasers replaced at 5,000 miles. I've spoken to at least 5 to 6 other people who've had the same issue. Some have had to wait for months for parts, but I was fortunate and had it back in a work week. Now, if I remember correctly, you don't have to pull the engine to do phasers on this, but again, I need to do some homework on that. From what I hear, there have been no courtesy vehicles given out, so people are paying for a brand new car for months that they can't even use until it gets fixed. So this statement is kind of flawed, because if you call the Ford CRC department and ask them for help with your payments that you've been down, typically they help. I stopped buying Ford when Mazda stopped supplying their engines. If you bought a Ford in the past 10 years, blame yourself. Glad I own an Outback. Comments like this with the fanboy bias stuff is what drives me nuts in this field, and it adds no information or taste to the automotive field at all. It's just dirty commentary. It needs to go away. Are you surprised after the Ford Focus and Ford Festiva transmission issues? DPS6 trans is what they're talking about with the dual clutch setup, which took Ford a decade to admit. Or maybe the EcoJunk 2.0 or 2.5, I can't remember. It's the 2.0. EcoJunk is a 2.0, 1.6 and 1.5, not the 2.5 liter. So you got to get that right when you're going to bash people. I know you said you can't remember, but let's just make sure it's right. Maybe the 3.5 liter that has the water pump inside the engine can fail and destroy it. Well, it has. It's not as common, but it has. This is particularly why they recommend service intervals for maintenance, and you have a maintenance chart, and if you follow that maintenance chart, you typically never have water pump internal failures if you're following what Ford says. Now, if it's a police car, they have extended coverage because it's idling all the time and it takes more abuse, but not customers' cars. Toyota is kicking their A. Oh yeah, with the failing Tundras, 3.5, boosted on the side of the road. Just 1,000, 2,000 miles breaking down, people posting videos on TikTok and on social media about how the new Tundra's junk, or maybe the new Highlanders that are coming from the factory with defective torque converter seals and pissing fluid out, or the front end's locking up on them. I guess we're not going to talk about those or previous disasters. Lane Michaels was right on the right train of thought. It's narrowed down to a batch of parts. They absolutely know what happened. I've had a 2.7 liter Altia and a 20 Edge, zero issues. It's a great setup, no problems. The Edge with that engine is absolutely phenomenal and sporty. Wait for the bugs to be worked out, yada yada yada. Go for the Gen 2, not the Gen 1. Just all depends on how bad you want it. Typically I would agree with you, but somebody's got to buy the vehicles, right? Now this comment was deleted on the Bronco forum, but there was a worker that said he had been working for Ford and then deleted the comment. Valves used in the 2.7 liter supplied by an outside vendor to Ford's Lima plant. The deleted member said that the valves were the same as the other months and are always tested out of a new batch before install, but a defect caused them to become brittle from the heat of combustion over time. It appears that the only bad batch made was in April, and that's the ones that we're seeing most of the problems with is around April. And this gentleman here is basically talking about what I was talking to you about earlier, where the 16 model 2.7 liter EcoBoost had just a small batch of bad valve seals that were causing smoking on startup, which we replaced the cylinder heads and it fixed the problem. This guy says, my 2016 F-150 had a 2.7 liter replaced at 29,000 miles. It ran great but smoked on startup. That's exactly what I was telling you guys that we had to go through back in 2016. Ford covered it fully and fixed the problem. Now, as you can see, everybody's got an opinion, right? Everybody's got an opinion, just like everybody's got an asshole. There's one in every bunch, and there's a Debbie Downer for everything. I could sit here and pick apart Hyundai and Kia and Toyota and stuff right now with their new stuff that's failing. Torque converters that we've seen at the Toyota store leaking trans fluid out around the torque converter seals. The front ends were I think a couple months ago, one of the service writers came to visit us that used to work with us. He likes Toyota way better. He said he services just facilities just way nicer, more money, more calm. The people are more calm and they pay. So he's like, I'm waiting on 5 front diffs right now in Highlanders, and I've got a couple Highlanders with torque converter seals less than 1,000 miles leaking. Regardless, people are going to have biases. They're going to say a lot of stuff. The news is going to jump on the bandwagon just like back in 2009 when that officer ran his vehicle off the road when that Lexus ES 350 throttle got stuck, and all of a sudden, oh, Toyota's so wrong for not addressing this and everything else. You got to give them time to address it. These things happen, but you also have to think of it this way. Do I pay $600 million to redesign, retool, and make all new parts? Or in the meantime, while I'm trying to figure everything out, figure out what's going on, if there are deaths, unfortunately, the reality of this world that we live in is cruel. I'd rather pay $70 million from people dying to families than $600 million, and I don't even know what the problem is yet, to retool and re-dye something and create a whole new entire pedal assembly. That's how corporations and businesses think. It's just reality. That's business. And it's sad that we think that way, but that is how it is. Now, I'm going to continue my day and get some more sun. Y'all be blessed. Take care.